I'd like to call to order the Leominster Planning Board meeting for November 20th, 2017. No public hearings today. I haven't had that in a long time. Regular meeting, call to order.
Patrick Perla.
Here.
Fred Frederick.
Here.
Paul Weiser.
Here.
Salvador Ciccone. John Souza.
Here.
Carol Vittorioso. Tom Kerrigan.
Okay. Minutes of previous meetings.
Make a motion to accept them. Second.
I have a motion made and seconded to accept the minutes. Any additions, deletions, corrections?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Plan submitted. 34 Tremaine Street for a site plan approval.
John, may you speak on this for a minute? We actually have a special permit for this as well as a site plan. It's multi-unit housing at the site of 34 Tremaine Street. We can schedule it for the December 4th meeting. We did the advertising, went out today on time, so we can do it for the 4th.
Okay.
We did do it for 6:30 though, so if you could schedule the special permit public hearing for 6:30 and then the site plan public meeting for 6:31 or whatever.
Okay. Very good. So for the site plan approval, a motion.
The
The
motion.
motion would be in order to open that for December 4th, December 4th at
6:31.
6:35.
6:35, okay.
6:35. Remove. Any discussion? Here none, call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. 34 Tremaine Street, special permit approval. It would be in order for December 4th at 6:30.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I have one more item.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item on this?
Yes,
Okay.
if you wanted to do a site walk. I didn't know if maybe you want to schedule it before the hearing, but that's, just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Is there a reason to do so? Is there something we need to see?
Is there a
in the
special-
maps and the drawings?
We did one for a similar project, so if we wanted to,
And do you think there's value in doing so?
I'll leave that up to you.
The value in doing that would be that we could get it done that night, okay? If some questions come up prior to the site, you know,
If
then
there's
we'd
reason-
have to, then we'd have to have the, it would continue into
If there's reason to
January.
expect the questions will come up, I agree with you.
Yeah.
If it's not, we don't do that for most projects.
No, but it's a big enough project to be involved that, you know, the recommendation is that we have a sidewalk,
Okay.
okay? So I'll accept that as, well, we can deal with that. No, we can't. Okay, we'll have to deal with that now. So, well, we'll take the hearing first, and then we can deal with the sidewalk. So, motion is to carry, motion made for December 4th at 6:30. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. A motion would be in order at this time to have Kristen set up a site walk prior to December 4th meeting to and contact members for the best date. Okay?
So we don't want to choose date yet?
Well, we could.
We'll
We
try.
got some members missing, but we could, you got any recommendations?
Anytime next week is fine.
I can't do Monday.
I couldn't do Monday or Wednesday.
Monday or Wednesday? You want to do it in the morning, you want to do it in the evening?
We could, how about Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 28th?
Okay.
In the morning?
What time?
What time works for you?
9 o'clock?
Well,
9 o'clock is good.
Right? How about you guys, how about that? You work, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What time works for you?
7.
How about 8, Pat, could you do 8?
No, not really.
Yeah.
How about late afternoon?
I mean, the only problem is I'm not gonna be able to see anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll,
Well, you have to do it
my
on
due
your,
diligence, so.
so we'll do it on the, what'd you say, the 28th,
Yeah.
9 o'clock?
Sounds good.
Okay. Motion would be in order to have a site walk,
Thursday, you'll send out an invite.
Yeah. Send an
November
invite.
28th at 9 o'clock. Any further discussion on that? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Mead Street for site plan approval. 55 Mead Street.
Yeah. So you have one for 6:30 and 6:35 now, so sometime after that.
Yeah, I think Tremaine's going to take a little bit of time.
6:45.
6:45?
6:45?
We'll do 6:45.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? I have a motion made and seconded for December 4th at 6:45. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. A&R for 42 Old Mill Road, Lot 2 and Parcel A.
I do have some smaller ones if you'd prefer.
Yeah, this is,
My name is Larry Saban with Hannigan Engineering. Today we have a piece of property that's owned by 42 Old Mill Road LLC. The objective here is to cut out the existing house on Old Mill Road, which is house number 22. Convey a portion of the property, known as Parcel A, to the abutter, James and Patricia Whitney, and leave the remaining land unchanged. We're in a Residence A zone. The lot meets all of the frontage area setback requirements, and the remaining land will be unchanged. You got about 602 feet of frontage along the remaining portion of Old Mill Road.
is there a reason for this? I mean, Whitney's house is built there, you know, that it's a division of property.
Just a division of property, yeah. This pool house is very close to the property line, so they're looking to get a little additional land on that side of
Okay.
the property there.
It's the pool house. I
So,
like that.
yeah, so I get you every time. So, as I said, this parcel A would be conveyed to
Yeah.
the Whitneys.
Okay, yeah, there's no lots to meet requirements, so that's no problem.
Make a motion to accept it.
The motion be to endorse.
Lynn Johnson, sorry.
Second?
And motion to endorse. And a second.
Yep, second.
Any further discussion? Here none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion is partially endorsed.
You take that one more thing.
And for Research Drive parcels 3-7, 3-9, and 3-10.
So Research Drive, this piece of property was owned by Southgate Business Park. And if you remember, not too long ago, this cul-de-sac had extended back to here. And we've now moved it back to this location. And basically what we're trying to do is take those 3 lots and combine them into 2 lots. Pretty simple. It's industrial zone, meets all of the frontage and area requirements.
Okay.
We have
I take it he's got a buyer for that.
Correct, we have a
Like a
specific
lot.
buyer for this lot here, and this is the configuration that works with the site plan.
And what does that lot 6C, that's next to the registry now, or behind it?
Correct,
right?
this is the registry building here.
Right,
Yes.
okay. That's good, I want to see business going in there, so if he gets a customer to change them, we just changed all those lot lines not too long ago.
Not too long ago, yes,
Yeah.
sir. Absolutely correct.
The moving lot lines.
But, you know, 3 lots down to 2, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, motion to endorse.
I have a motion to endorse. Do we have any, do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. I like easy ones like this.
Two small ones.
Try to keep it easy for you.
Right on the base sheets.
The little ones, that's fine.
So,
Oh, yeah, I'll just leave there.
Oh, Frank. Yeah, he had a good day going.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Director Kelly, good evening. My name is Frank Preston of Whitman and Bingham Associates, and the A&R plan that I'm showing you is...
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
I gotta open it.
Oh, sorry about that.
3.6 A&R for 125 and 161 Elm Street. Go ahead, Frank.
The two properties that you cited, 161 and 125 Elm Street, are adjacent residential lots under common ownership. As it turns out, there's a garage in the middle that's in bad shape, and if that garage comes down, there's a potential for a third lot in the middle. So this plan shows one lot with each of the 2 existing residential structures and the third lot in the center, each lot having adequate frontage with an area in the Residence A zone. So it should be pretty straightforward.
You're creating a non-conformance.
Don't think, well, for the...
With the
for
garage.
The garage has to come down, and I've made that note on the plan. Matter of fact, it's in bad shape right now. So, in effect, typically the sticking point would be bank financing would not be available until that was taken care of. But they don't want to start taking the garage down without this first step being in hand, and we're getting the plan approved.
Okay. I have a problem and I have an issue. The first problem is I'm creating a non-conformance with that, and I'm not allowed to create a non-conformance, okay?
The non-
Now, let me finish. That being running the line through the garage, okay? Now, I also can't put a condition on an A&R. So it's not a conditional, so I can't, as the board, okay, I can't say this A&R is no good unless the garage comes down, which is, so I'm sort of,
It's chicken and
yeah, chicken or an egg, you might say, you know?
Not the first time the board has endorsed a plan exactly like this.
And, yeah, I know.
It is, again, you can't impose a condition, you're right, but I am imposing a condition. As I said,
Yeah.
the sticking points, number 1 would be financing, and number 2 is the building inspector's office, building commissioner's office. Not much can happen in terms of conveying land, which would create the real non-conformance until that garage is removed. I've probably done, I don't know, don't keep track, probably done half a dozen like this over the years. And planning boards consistently do say, scratch their heads a little bit over it, because, yeah, you're right, it does create a non-conformance. The non-conformance, in my mind at least, I'm not trying to play lawyer, but in my mind, occurs when the lot changes hands. That can't happen without creating not only a zoning problem for the lot in the middle, but for all 3 lots through all the infectious validity. situation.
Okay. And you didn't put a note on it though.
And yeah, I did, I believe.
Where is it?
That's the disadvantage of the little ones. Garage to be in.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Oh, I was looking up here in the notes. Yeah. You've got that here. Could you, this is not a condition, it's a suggestion. Okay? But if you just continue the note over here that the garage would be raised.
So that, again, that's, as you well know, that's not a problem to do.
Right, I realize that.
So that if you,
Then we'll accept it.
so will I receive a favorable vote tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, so you will receive in the morning a revised plan with that note added to the list of notes.
Okay?
If that's acceptable to you guys, easiest thing in the world for me.
Yeah, it is for me. What do you?
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I can sweeten the deal a little bit, add a little bit of language saying how horrible it would be if they tried to sell the lot out of these areas.
Yeah. Yeah. I really, like I said, I can't condition them, but I can suggest.
Yeah, I know, and as a matter of fact, because by the time this comes up again, I'll probably have forgotten all this, but it does enable us
Yeah.
maybe to take a slightly more detailed approach the next time this comes up.
Okay. Good.
Motion to endorse with the agreed upon changes.
Okay, I have a motion made
Second.
and seconded to endorse with a suggestion.
Suggestion taken to heart.
Any further discussion? Here none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those say no. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
You're
Gentlemen,
welcome.
thank you. Director Keller, thank you very much. I'll talk to you in the morning.
Okay, we'll see you then. Do you want these back?
Might as well take it off your hands. Great, thank you.
Actually, let me hold it. I'll give them back to you.
All right, sweet. Just really quickly, happy and healthy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Old business. City Council petition 13-18. Pat Scarzelli as agent for Highland Minor Trust. Accept the deed for Katie Lane and request the street be taken by eminent domain by the city of Leominster.
The hell I had.
Yes, Pat. Explain this one to me.
This one's of an interesting nature. So
Yes, you are.
Katie Lane has been there and finished for a very long time. What has come up recently is Chapter 90, accepted ways, unaccepted ways in the city of Leominster. When this first came to me, actually, shortly, not too long ago, but shortly after there was discussion, it was approached from some of the people that live on Katie Lane, what about my street? So in looking at this, there's been some history of eminent domain takings, and there's been some history of just regular street acceptances, which I know will process. Under the regular process, which typically should have happened, long ago, a decade ago, there's in excess of $100,000 in cash, not a bond, being held by the city of Leominster for this. So this has certainly gone on way too long. But what's now happened is you've had conveyances and reconveyances, which means people have had deeds, deed title reports, mortgage companies, banks, et cetera, et cetera. The clear path, and what I submitted to the city council, and I apologize for not having, unfortunately, I did finally find what Stephanie referred to was actually my trash of all places, which won't happen again, but I would have come before I went to the city council, was I presented to the city council the plan, the as-built plan, which the DPW has gone through, and a deed. And the deed in the deed is Highland Manor is conveying whatever ownership rights they have in the way to the city of Leominster. Now, if you look at most real estate law, there is some interpretations that say, unless it's specifically accepted, there's ownership to the center. Others are, if you look at the deeds, when you look at the square footage of each person's lot, It's no greater than the lot itself, excluding Katy Lane. So the easiest resolve seemed to be, after numerous discussions at length, is that if, in fact, the city could, and that's why this might be a little preemptive, because the city council has asked open the page for a legal opinion. And it seems the biggest turning point here is whether a private entity can, in fact, pay a city or town or the state or the federal government to take a property out of their funds, which we've offered to do. If there's legal work, if there's certain things the city is required to do, we've offered the city to take money from the bond monies they're holding, since it's not a bond, it's actually cash, to accomplish that goal. And the real goal here is not to the developer, it's not even for the petitioner, which is Highland Manor. It really is, you now have 9 families up there that pay tax in Leominster that would have to go to all their banks, get partial leases, redo their deeds, and it would create some certain hardships among each one of the landowners.
Wouldn't that have to be done anyway? Because all of the deeds, all the property has to be resurveyed and taken and put into one deed so that the city can take it for eminent domain.
No,
Or each, because the city would have to know
no,
what the property is to be taken.
No, the city would be able to take the fee in the street as defined in the plan and the as-built. That would be the eminent domain taking. So what would happen is each title, when someone went to convey, all that would happen is it would convey subject to a taking, similar to what.
Fisher.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's going next.
Similar to what's that, like Independence Way was done similarly, where the city did take like Independence Way up on Lego by eminent domain. Ghost Town, there was a certain amount of this that got done long, long ago, where the eminent domain taking is specific to the taking, which then becomes, as anybody does deed research, it would be, here's their lot, any right they may have had to the middle of the street, if in fact they do have any rights, would be taken by eminent domain.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry Carol's not here because she's the one who dealt very strongly with that.
Oh, that's okay, I know.
Why is this not simply a street acceptance? Why do you need, and why does eminent domain apply at all?
For exactly that reason. The acceptance of the way. Okay, we've drafted, the city council has a deed from Highland Manor for any rights they have in Katy Lane. There's a cloud. The question would be is, do the landowners have any rights within Katy Lane? Which then becomes contentious. It becomes based on their deeds, based on what you believe they own, whether they own to the middle of the street or not.
But you said the deeds didn't include anything beyond the property line.
But it's not a means and bounds description. Their deeds refer to their square footage of lot. It doesn't change the fact that there is the perception, depending on who you ask as a lawyer, and I wish Carol were here, that there may be an ownership right by the landowners to the center of the street because the street was not taken and accepted. This is housekeeping, it's a very good question. I know I've got more, and that's
How is
So
it
just so you know,
Highland Manor
Carol-
Street then, if the lot owner's on the street? It's either the lot owner's street or
That's
it's
why I
Highland
wanted-
Manor Street.
On a paper street, okay,
Right.
but this wasn't a paper
That's not a
street.
paper street.
It wasn't, but on paper streets, all those deeds say those people own, there's a right of way, but they own to the center of the
And
right
there's
of
a
way.
descriptive easement for the people at the end to cross
Right.
over the ownership rights of everybody in front of them. That's really not what we have here.
No.
Never a paper street, which is,
It should have been created as lots.
it should have been done.
And it should have been a separate deed for the way,
And
but
then-
no separate deed for the way was ever developed.
And what should have happened when the final course went on the paving of the street, someone should come and raise their hand and said, here's the deed for the street, please accept it. But that's not what we are. So I'm trying to, again, this is a balance. I wish it were clear cut because it would make my job a lot easier. But there's some questions and I guess we're going to go through some more in a few minutes here. But this is really an attempt to benefit the 9 homeowners up there that would have to go through, would have to bear an expense to in fact live on an accepted way. They pay taxes in Leominster, they do all the things every other taxpayer does except for they don't live on an accepted way. So that is my attempt in this. What it has raised at the city council level, just so we're all clear, is that they've reached out to Coleman and Page, because unfortunately, it's not a black or white. This
No,
one,
it's not.
I wish it were simple, because if we're that simple, one, I'd be here just telling you guys A, B, C, D, and I'd be in front of them saying, you know, please accept, and we've done. So we've given them the plan, we've given them the as-built plan, which we've done all the things.
You've got
that
the
you do.
completed as-bills?
Yep, we've done everything.
And I'm sure you
that
get
would do.
something, we'll get something from DPW, so.
Yep.
Yes.
So I've done everything for the street acceptance that you would do if you're just doing a regular street
Okay.
acceptance. I've brought them a deed for the man, I mean, literally I've done all those things. But
Right.
because there's this,
Caveat.
yeah, this was what seemed to be in the best interest of the homeowners. Because one of the questions, and I'll jump ahead only because I got to peek, you know, Highland Manor's not looking, in most eminent domains, the city has to assess, they have to pay you something. There's no expectation of payment. There's no benefit to Highland Manor Realty Trust other than allowing whatever rights they have to go to the city and letting the city clear up any ownership rights in Katy Lane for the benefit of the homeowners. So that is the intent here. That's what's trying to be accomplished.
And it's acceptable that any expenses incurred by the city can be taken out of the bond. or out of the
Money
pa-
being held.
Out of the passbook.
And that's part of the question. My understanding is that, in speaking to the clerk, speaking to Lynn, that was one of the things that she wasn't sure of, and certainly they wanted the opinion from Coleman Page. Can a private petitioner, landowner, developer provide monies for an eminent domain taking? Because if they could, certainly this would become
We wouldn't be
the
for the-
norm instead of the exception.
Are all 9 people involved in this in agreement with this course of action?
The
What
landowners?
I've done is I've had a conversation with some of the people up here. They just want their way, exactly, Patrick. And what they kind of wait to see is where this falls with the city council. To tell you the truth, when I went to the council, I wasn't aware that you guys had made a recommendation one way or the other. And then I came down the next day and started listening to stuff and said, you've seen my face enough times, I'm not afraid to come here and explain. It just,
Right.
I wish I had known before, we would have had this conversation. So it was given further time last Monday, and what they're waiting for especially is Coconut Beach. I know, I've spoken to John DPW, so I'm not concerned about that. Everything there is what they've asked for. The one thing that's been asked for in the last 10 years, I asked them, has never been a problem. They asked the retention basin to be cleaned up, which got done. So other than that, and I guess better answer the question, the landowners, and I haven't spoken all night, but the few I spoke to are hoping that I succeed because they know, and some of them, they're not even the original purchaser. They bought it from someone else who lived there. So the thought process of going to a bank, trying to find out who really holds their mortgage, unless it's, LC.
Pat, forgive me, and honestly, I'm not trying to.
Oh, no. We're good.
If the people own the property,
Mhm.
how could you possibly be representing an entity that doesn't own the property?
Well, no, because we have an interest. Highland Manor.
I just don't
still
understand, I
has-
guess.
That's why we're giving a deed to the city under typical street acceptance way, you have to provide a deed. Our deed states any ownership rights we may have in Katy Lane.
I guess my question would be, how is somebody that's unaware or hasn't agreed to this course of action, but they have an ownership interest in part of that?
Well, that's what eminent domain does. If you
I
have an ownership
guess I know,
interest
but
or
I don't
not.
understand how.
All it's gonna
Oh,
take
that's
is
how-
one person to say, I want to absorb an amount of money
Yeah,
from the
what
city.
happens when that happens?
Well, no.
Because you're gonna have to get each one of these people to sign off. Even an eminent domain, you have to make a deal with the landowner.
If they have any rights, which we believe they do not based on their deeds.
Okay.
So that's part of what's
But if they
intentional.
don't based on their deeds, why aren't we back to the street acceptance? That's the reason why you were doing it in domain, because it wasn't, we weren't sure whether they.
I guess another question would be,
There-
why
there
would the
is some
city
question.
absorb a cost?
But that's why
Willingly.
they're not going to.
That's why I just said.
That's what I'm trying to get squared, is getting the cost would come,
No, I
any cost would
know,
come
I
out of the
understand that,
bond.
that's right, so the.
Right.
You've got a question.
Yeah, it's not a hearing, I'm sorry. But I could,
Oh,
I could take a vote to accept a question from the
I would
audience.
certainly
Second.
I have no objection.
Okay, I have a motion, all in favor, say accept the question from the audience, say aye. Opposed, say no, motion carries. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. I think my question would be, listening to discussion is, if the city is going to take by eminent domain, it must take from somebody, and it must know who that entity is.
Right.
And, which I think is a different way of saying, so the city needs to clear title and those interests before it can do anything by eminent
Well,
domain. But also, as you're saying that there is some money out there that presumably is from the developer, maybe that money can be used to let each homeowner clear up their title, so they don't, if there's $100,000, and this really should have been taking care of the developer, if there's that money can be used so each person can get, or ascertain.
That's what I see as the developer had the responsibility to give these people a clear deed.
And
That's number one.
In our position is they have one.
Okay. Then there shouldn't be any, if they have a clear deed, then there is no issue.
Well, but then there's no need for eminent domain.
Then there's no, that's, okay.
Potentially, that's why the question's going to Coleman and Page. If we're right and we have the fee in the street, it will be a regular street acceptance, which is what I've submitted to the city council. I've
Okay.
given them the plans that are required under an acceptance, I've given them the deed that's required under an
Okay.
acceptance. I have treated this just like a normal street
Free
acceptance.
acceptance, okay.
What I've said is, if there's questions as to the fee in the street, because the deed clearly defines each lot, if in fact the city is required to accept the street, that by eminent domain, what it does is in fact, it takes that, it actually, in a way, clears their title, because when the title report's done is, the title, and we have a title, we've submitted a title to the city, which is also one of the requirements, which is why we believe that what we're doing is really the street acceptance, the way it should be done. However, since there seems to be some question that if it were in the city's interest, or I guess the legal opinion from the city solicitor, that it could be done this way, that we would have paid the fee to go forward. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is get the street accepted for the homeowners.
Right,
And to not create a hardship for them.
okay.
Okay, so I guess that's really the crux of this, and Coleman and Page and Coleman will clear it up when they give us an opinion whether we in fact do own the fee, as we believe we do, or if they believe it requires something other than that step. But I did want to come and at least explain what the intent was, as opposed to, you know what, we don't want to go through a street acceptance, take it by eminent domain and have a good day. So, because that's not what's going on.
But don't
Okay.
we need to wait for that opinion before we can render?
Well, we see, what it is, see,
It's
we could wait
information.
7 years, I think, and probably time has elapsed. And we could take the bond in its entirety and get the paperwork done towards street acceptance. And then that monies, all those monies would come out of the bond. Once it was accepted by the city, then the balance would go back to the
And that's, and
developer.
knowing that, that's why we've offered sort of upfront, what you just said, is that
The cost would be much higher if the city did. Yes, I understand that part.
So I think you want to, I don't know how we
Okay.
want to proceed. It seems like everybody wants to wait
Yeah.
for Coleman and Page.
Yeah.
Well,
They don't wanna-
I just wanna
let's get you
see-
read what you get there, Chris.
Okay, so I did speak with Carol Torioso about this. She did have some questions. I'll read through the list. I believe that the questions have basically been asked and answered, and Carol can watch the video or when she has a chance. But I will just go through it and, okay. Question, how does the petition qualify for eminent domain? I believe we've kind of been through that a little bit, unless you could add anything.
I just quickly, we believe we own the fee in the street.
Okay,
So-
good. Can a landowner ask the municipality to take by eminent domain? I believe this is the question for Copeland and Page.
Correct. I was
Okay.
going to say that's a legal question.
Okay. Does the petitioner expect to be compensated?
No,
Okay. Does the petitioner have standing? Who owns the property?
we believe that we have a fee in the street that we can convey to the city.
And that's Highland Manor?
Highland Manor.
Highland Manor, okay. why can't the petitioner simply seek an acceptance of the road as a public way in the normal
It
way?
seems there's some ambiguity as to whether there's a fee in the street on one or the other.
Okay. And how is this proposed roadway different from others in similar subdivisions? Does it seek eminent domain versus street acceptance? So that we do not find other petitioners seeking the same in their subdivisions.
I think the difference here is typically this is done on paper streets, and the question of ownership to the center of the road, this was not on paper street.
She does say that, suggests we defer a recommendation until we receive input from Copeland Cottage.
I think
Seems to be the-
where this comes about, and I'm going back a long time, is I think the original discussion on this, that this was going to be a homeowners association. Okay, so in that case, the statements that were made, that this is going to be a homeowners association and it would not come back to the city. Okay, and I think, and I'm going from memory from a long time ago.
I don't know, I wasn't here then.
Well, it's quite a while ago, okay? And I remember a discussion on that. So the street would never be accepted by the city because it was going to be private, okay? And needless to say, that attitude has changed. The plan has changed. So when that was done, that's why the deeds would have gone to the, if it was one entity as an association, then the deed setup would be
The
different.
association would have the fees.
The association would have the deeds. So I think that's where the ambiguity comes. I'm going from memory, it's quite a while ago, and that's probably what caused the issue back 15 years ago.
I think the good news here, though, is the roadway, Katy Lane is built to city standards. It's
Right.
outside the Grand Curve. I mean, the good news here is, it was built to all the standards of street acceptance in the city limits.
Things change, and I accept that. So we just want to make it right, and I agree that more and more of these streets, and this is actually working the way we want it to, is we hold them these large bonds, like $100,000, to get these things accepted. Where in years past, there was no large bond, so it didn't happen, and that's why we have streets all over the city that haven't been accepted and included in the Chapter 90 money. So in that essence, it's working. Money does work sometimes. And so then we'll take and go forward. I think, did you have anything else?
Nope, that was what
Yeah,
Carol
we
had to
just,
say.
Yeah, okay. I think you've answered it, most of the questions. We have some issues that pretty much lie with Copeland and Page.
I agree. So I defer to your wisdom. I would hope that at least out of this, instead of having, it's going to be another chicken nugget, to quote Franklin, when they're going to say, they're going to be looking for recommendation from you guys, and you're going to be looking for recommendation from them.
Well, look, what
Everybody's
we'll
looking for
do is,
recommendation
yeah.
from Copeland and Page.
Well, what we'll do is, we'll discuss it, and if they have any conditions, then we'll take, and we'll refer that back to the city council with a recommendation. We will give them a recommendation. And if another issue comes up, they always can come back to it, so, so that's not, that shouldn't be a problem.
They never do.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman, everybody, and again, thank you. Happy
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. I think, this is going, we can discuss this on the whole business with us where we are. Exactly what I said is that there is like $100,000 in bond money, and what it is a passport account held by us. So those monies are available not to the developer but to the city. In essence, if hypothetically, if a developer walked away or was bankrupt, then once we had determination of that fact, or a time period passes, then the city has the right to take any monies that they held, hold in the passbook, and to take and complete the project to street acceptance. So I think in this regard, this is working down in those same issues. I think the motion we have to make, in my opinion, is that a recommendation that be made that any expenses incurred, okay, would come out of the monies in the passbook account.
I think for the record too, and I'm probably speaking for everybody, I think we all want the street to be accepted, we just want it to be accepted the right way.
That is correct, you know, yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, so I just want, and I think from a motion by us where we hold the passbook, okay, is that we say, hey, any, in the motion that we take, say that any monies, any cash, you know, to be incurred not to exceed $100,000, okay, would come from the passbook account.
It's not a very big stretch of road either.
No, it's not,
That's a sufficient amount of money.
yeah, it's only 9 houses, so, it, you know, it shouldn't be a big deal, okay? Do we have anything from the DPW? Did we get anything from the DPW?
I've gotten some emails because this question has come up in the recent past about acceptance, and so I standard will ask the DPW. So I have some emails that show that they had met certain requirements, and I understand they do have the as-bills. I haven't formally asked them, you know, recently, because this is more of a recommendation for this eminent domain thing as opposed to an actual street acceptance.
Right. And that's why I'm asking, okay, that's why I want to get, so we got to divide this up into 2 things. One is, in our recommendation, that we go move forward and recommend that the city proceed with Copeland and Page and with eminent domain, okay, to clear the titles and prepare, okay, for street acceptance when normal course would be taken. That means when the actual street acceptance comes, they would still have to come back to us for street acceptance, saying, okay, here are all the deeds, they've been cleared, here's the road width that's been done, the DPW says, you know, all the drains and everything else are done correctly, and then we, so it's a two-pronged, I see it as a 2-pronged thing. Any discussion on that?
One quick thing, I think just trying to pull it all together. So what our recommendation is that we really want to see street acceptance come for us. So if they need to pay to clear up the deeds so that we can have a regular course of action for street acceptance, then that's, we would like to have it be a street acceptance situation.
That is right.
Avoiding eminent domain in its entirety.
Yeah, yeah. Well, whatever process is required, okay, and that any money is required up to that $100,000, okay, be taken out of the passbook account.
There are just too many street acceptances. We have to treat it the same. It's hard to create.
Yeah, I know, but see, this one has money in it. There's a lot of out there we're going to have to take. There is no money.
I have hope.
So I think, yeah, Pat, your motion, you want to make that as a motion?
Before you make a motion, can I just say something? John,
Sure.
I'm sure that this question will come up when KP reviews this for their opinion. What that bond or passbook funds can actually be used for, how it can be accessed. So I'm sure they will answer that question as well, because it's sort of part of it. My understanding is there's certain ways that money can and can't be used. So I'm sure that will be answered. And I will also point out that the recommendation that we wrote at the previous meeting basically said the same thing, that we would recommend that the street proceed through the normal course of street acceptance, you know, without the eminent domain part. Just to recap that.
Why don't
So
we
I
just-
basically already recommended that, which is good.
So we've already recommended it.
Essentially, we didn't say anything about the KP because that kind of learned that after, but you know, we could add that or modify that statement somehow.
Before we make a decision, why don't we wait to hear from them and just continue this to the next meeting?
I agree.
Well, at the same time, we should, the city council is waiting for input from us also.
Well, they're waiting for,
We need the
they've
information to make
given it more
recommendations.
time to receive an
From
opinion
Copeland and Page.
Copeland and Page.
And they already have our letter. I can go try to retract that.
Okay, so they already have a letter from us,
They
the original
do, they
letter?
already wrote it, yeah, I sent it the next day.
Okay.
There's a question.
Another question.
What do you?
Well,
Just, can I ask the board, is that just street acceptance, or is it the street and associated drainage facilities?
when the street is accepted, it's complete. It's not just the road service, it's all of the street acceptance, the, you know, the drainage, the sidewalks, the curbing, the lighting, okay? The whole package, it's all, and I know they had a problem with one of the inverts, and I know that was fixed.
And my other question, since you brought this up, it originally was a homeowner association. When it was originally approved, and the applicant said it was going to be private, were there any conditions that were granted with the idea that it would be kept private?
No, we never got to that point. Because it never happened, they never proceeded forward. It was only made at the time they started the development, okay? And I'm saying I'm going from memory of things that happened. So that happened, they came in for the site plan, they did the development, and then that's it. But then, in any case, if we have, when we get a final, see, you never got the final stage, because we're still sitting with the bond. And if it had gotten to the final stage, before it could be accepted, then we would have required bylaws of the association and the names of the officers of the association. But they never got to that point, okay? So the association was never legally recognized.
I
By
was
us,
referring
yeah.
specifically to the association, but more when they presented the project saying the street is going to be private, so therefore, we don't want to have to do X, Y, and Z because it's a private street. I was just
Yeah.
curious if there were any conditions like that.
I could say it was a song and dance by the developer, but I won't say that.
I was just wondering.
Okay, yeah, I don't know, some things are said sometimes in meetings and the plans, and maybe they had a, you know, good reason to, or maybe at that time, they actually had a plan to do it, okay? And for one reason or another that we're not privy to, it fell through, or it never happened, or it never got developed, I just don't know. So all I'm saying is that was part of the original discussion that I remember, okay? But was it ever part of the final documents? I don't know, okay? And so that's why things were done, because now we're trying to get to the final documents. So, seeing as we already have a letter out, and I'm saying that we're in favor, probably a motion then, would just be to continue this, and just send a note back that we're waiting for the information from Copeland and Page.
Okay, so I can add to our statement.
I made the motion.
Okay?
Second.
So that motion is made and seconded, just to continue to our next meeting
Yeah.
and wait for information from Copeland and Page. Okay. We'll get there, because I want to see it accepted, you know, and I think the city, and we have a problem, because there are cities, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. You can't vote. You want to vote, you want to be on the board, you want to get out of here.
Let's do it.
Who's next?
6.1.
Okay, no new communications. Minor modification approval for new Lancaster Road site plan for parcel A digital credit union.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Patrick McCarty Engineering. Here tonight on behalf of DCU. As you all know, we came in several months ago and did the site plan for the new Aroma Joe's and DCU building. At the time, the developer and the two entities leasing had come up with how they wanted the site configured, and so we had the one in and then a 16-foot lane along the side of DCU that split for the teller and the ATM. That's just not supporting the volume of business that this location's seeing. And so this dark gray area represents about 980 square feet of new pavement that allows us to have a dedicated lane for the teller, 12 feet wide, and a dedicated lane for the ATM. Requires moving the curb line back 8 feet, moving a light pole, and moving a directional sign. Pretty much,
Okay.
they want to do this
Do
instantly.
you don't get into that steep banking at all, do you?
Nope.
Okay, that was the only concern I had.
We don't even get it, there's some trees, we don't get into the trees, we're
Right,
just shy of.
okay. Yeah, I'm always glad to see a modification because business is good.
The business is great. Aroma Joe's is cranking all the time over there, it's just.
I guess I gotta go over there and give it a try. Yeah,
It's great, yeah. It's
Everybody
convenient.
I've
Our office
talked
is
to
right
said
across
they
the
really
street,
like
so-
it, so.
Yeah, it's very good, yeah.
And I did have DPW take a look at this plan just to be sure there was no concern with the extra impervious cover, and they were fine with it.
Okay,
So
very
we have to
good.
make the motion that it's a minor modification first.
I have a motion to accept this as a minor modification. All in favor, do I have a second?
Yeah.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Great.
And now a motion to accept this as a minor modification.
So
There it is, and then we have,
Yeah, second.
yeah,
And approve it.
okay. Motion made and seconded to accept the changes as a minor modification. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Great, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you.
Thank you.
City Council Petition 15-18. Karen Brewer, accept the westerly end of Sawtell Road as a public way.
Is there,
Okay,
so at the last meeting, Anthony Cleves was working on this. He wasn't at the meeting, but I spoke on behalf of him. They went before the city council for street acceptance, sort of simultaneously with requesting the bond reduction. And so they've presented all the materials to the city council, street acceptance, the as-built plans. We have I did speak with the DPW about any remaining details. The only thing is the streetlight does not have power yet. The city owns the streetlights now in Leominster. That's a recent event, and so Joe Poirier, the wire inspector, is working with National Grid to get power to that streetlight. It's installed and ready to go. Other than that, there are no outstanding issues with this Sawtell Road extension.
okay.
So the end of Sawtell has a traffic light now?
Streetlight.
The street
A
light?
street light, just a,
It's right on the corner of. It's a weird section of the road. It's the 6-lot subdivision that's sort of in the middle before you get to the condo area in the back. There is a streetlight on the corner of the first house and
will this accept the
I forget,
Sawtell all the way to
Richard
the end?
all the way to where the condo complex begins. But then there's
Right.
a section in between that is owned by Geronimo Properties. They're finishing up the 3 houses over there, and then they will go for street acceptance as well. And that should put the whole street up to the condo complex as public, as accepted way.
Okay. So we're gonna have an accepted way, an unaccepted way, and an accepted way, yeah?
For right now.
For right now.
So eventually Woodbury would become accepted?
Well, yeah, we have a bond on all of these, so.
Woodbury, did you say Woodbury? I'm not sure about Woodbury. This is the
There's a
extent
couple of
of.
roads in the woods there that.
No, Woodbury goes into the woods.
Right.
Right, there's several paper streets over there.
Right.
Sawtell Road is constructed all the way from Central Street back to Gamache Lane.
Right.
And there's a condo complex, a rental community back there. But it's all single family, all up Sawtell until you get to that point. So, and then off to the north is another apartment complex that is actually going to condos, which is Richard Ave, and I forget, I don't know the name of
That's right,
the complex itself, but Richard, Montrose is
That's the other end
a
of
couple other
Montrose. Right.
roads down that way. But those are all
That's
part of
separate,
that.
that's
part
with
of that
Gamache. I
complex,
mean,
yeah,
that's DiGiorno.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it looks like everything is in order.
For their little section of the 6-lot subdivision, the road's
Mhm.
been constructed and inspected, and everything is in order.
Do we still hold a bond on that piece?
Sawtell Road, yes, we do.
On Sawtell?
Well, we released it at the last meeting. I don't think the paperwork's finalized, but you approved the release of the bond.
Release of the
Last
bond.
minute, yeah, because they had already petitioned, put in their petition.
They had
to the
petitioned the city council, that's
For the
right.
street acceptance, yeah.
Okay. So a motion would be to recommend acceptance.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Do I have a second?
Abstain.
Do it. For acceptance, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Holiday meeting schedule.
We put this in advance of the next item because it may influence when we schedule. We need to schedule a public hearing for the next item. So we just wanted to confirm what our upcoming meeting schedule would be. So this is November 20th. Our next meeting will be December 4th. After that, the next meeting would be the 18th, I think, or the 19th. But whether we normally have that meeting, the second meeting in December, that's what we need to decide if you want to have that. After that, January is also odd because the first and the third Mondays are both holidays.
That's right.
So we've already arranged to have a special meeting on the second Monday in January, which is what we've done the past couple of years. We'll also have it here in the library. And then we'll have the one meeting in January, and then we're through the holiday season.
I don't see why we couldn't have a meeting on the 18th.
Yeah.
Certainly if there's business to be.
If there's business,
Yeah.
let's schedule it
Right,
and let's try to get stuff done on the 4th,
yep,
okay? Even if we have to load it,
sure.
okay, if we can, and then, but we pretty much have to be open to a meeting on the 18th, but
Okay.
Yeah.
it could be provisional.
Okay, because, well, the very next item, we're going to be scheduling a public hearing, so you could be scheduling it for that meeting on the 18th.
Oh, that's right,
Otherwise, it would
because
go
we
to-
couldn't advertise
Right,
that.
otherwise it would go to the January 8th meeting, we could schedule the public hearing.
That's fine.
Okay,
And we would have to have a quorum for the meeting to open the public hearing, but not a super majority.
right,
I'll be here.
okay. So we're all set on the schedule?
I don't know.
Do we have
What
to
do we
vote on
decide
that?
on?
We don't
Are
have
we
five.
loading up to 4th with this too?
No,
Is that
you
what we're
can't.
gonna do?
You're gonna do
I
it.
mean, we certainly could, but.
We don't have 5 people. With the 18th, it's hard to schedule something and advertise for it, and then you have to cancel it if the other 3 say they can't make it. And we have to decide it tonight. Or do we do it by email?
Well,
or just have
We do want to schedule this
No, we
public
can
hearing, but you can
schedule it.
schedule it for the January 8th meeting.
It's just that we can schedule the hearing, but it's just that before we initiate the hearing, I have to have a quorum.
Right.
Right, which
Okay.
means, we can
If
probably
I can
confirm that
schedule
before
it,
the date and let everyone
And
know.
we'll, make sure, but
So
that's not a problem, with scheduling them. But
Okay.
before I initiate a hearing, I have to have a quorum.
So we'll
Okay,
schedule-
that's happened to us before. We have scheduled hearings and we haven't had a quorum, okay? So then we move it out.
we'll schedule 6.4 from 12:18 and 6:30.
You're still here, John, on the 7th?
Yeah. Well, for December, right?
Yeah.
December 18th.
December
So that would be the
18th.
18th anyway.
Yeah, for,
Okay.
at 6:30.
Okay. Yeah, schedule public hearing for city council petition 14-18, John B. Bolger and 10 registered voters. Rezone the following parcels on Pleasant Street and Low Street from Residence B to Residence A. Pleasant Street, west side, map 342, lots 12 and 13. Map 481, lot 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Map 521, lots 1 and 39. Map 488, lots 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. Map 494, lots 18, 3A, 31A, 32A, 32B, 32C. Pleasant Street, east side, map 516, lots 35A, 36A, 37A. Map 340, lots 1 and 2. Map 410, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 22, and 23. Map 496, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6A, and 7. Map 481, Lot 16, Low Street, map 488, Lot 5.
John, does this have
That's
anything?
it. This comes out of, there's been a lot of discussion of the three houses, the apartment houses on Pleasant Street. And most of the people in that area, there are a number of homes in there that are two-family, but the majority of the homes are Residence A, and the people felt that it should have been stated, be Residence A. So they've done a lot of work, and they've pulled out all the lots, and they've done all the petitions. The neighborhood has had a lot of meetings, which I've had a few phone calls on. So these people have worked real hard at it, so I think we should go forward. And a question I got is, this comes back to that petition we just had about notification.
Yeah, exactly.
How are we gonna notify all of, have we got a list of all of this?
That's a good question. We
This
have,
is
there's a list of petitioners, so what was,
This is
and
yeah,
we'll be
but we gotta
sending
go
all the
outside of
materials
this
out
area,
for the meeting.
because we gotta go 300 feet outside of this area.
Well, that's
Well, do we?
that's what the petition is about. What we would do for our public hearing is advertising. So
Right.
we have to schedule the advertising. But we can also reach out to those homeowners
But
to
if
let
you-
them know that the public hearing is going to happen. And I'm pretty sure there's a few people, you know, that are heading this up, that if we can get contact with, then they have them let everyone else know in the group there.
But it's
So-
only people in the group, but it's other people in the area that also have to know.
Oh,
Do we have to give, when we make a zoning change, notify them? No, but that's that change they're going through
Right.
now.
My understanding is we have to publicly advertise it and have a public
That's what the
hearing.
change is in there now.
There's no abutters notification. Right, that change is in there now,
That is not, but it hasn't been acted on.
not that I know of.
So let's
Yeah.
get this one out from underneath. This is exactly the problem that I saw with that petition.
Yeah, yeah.
It
There
makes
would
it-
be a very large list of abutters that
Yeah.
would have to be notified.
So that actually works out pretty good, because we went down, here's the problem that creates.
Yeah, example.
Okay,
all right, I made a motion to schedule it for December
for the 18th.
6:30.
Okay, and on this one, I'm gonna ask, you know, such a large area, we probably should do a site walk on this, or I wanna ask individually, you know, take a ride around this area and look at all these lots.
I'm
Pretty
gonna
familiar with this.
Okay, so we're all familiar with it, because it's a pretty good size area. Take a look at the homes, look at the areas, so that we're all familiar, and I think that would be suffice to this meeting. If it looks like there were some issues on that December 18th meeting, then we could schedule an actual site walk, you know, at that time.
Sure.
But I think if we go out and do it on our own, I think we'd be in pretty good shape. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay. I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? Here none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. And no director's report. Executive session. Okay, we gotta go into executive session.
We'll go into executive session.
I have a motion, we need a roll call.
Patrick Perla,
Yes.
Fred Frederick,
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
Yes.
Can I
John
say
Souza,
everybody?
yes.
John Souza, yes. Do I have to include everybody who's not here?
No.
Do we have to make a motion to close it?
Yes, we make a motion to, yeah, because we're not gonna come back into, so a motion would be made to adjourn and to go into executive session.
Yep,
So that's the motion.
that's my
Okay.
motion.
Motion is made and seconded to adjourn and go into executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.